Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Todd McShay of ESPN just dropped his second mock draft of the offseason, and in this one we're going to be breaking it down, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. So with the first overall pick, Todd has the Jaguars going with Evan Neal, the offensive lineman from Alabama, and this is definitely understandable. I mean, I really feel like the Jaguars have two different directions that they could travel down as far as this number one pick is concerned. They could either protect the quarterback, protect Trevor Lawrence, or get after opposing quarterbacks, right, with either Aiden Hutchinson, a Kayvon Thibodeau, whatever the Jaguars want. And so I mean, at the end of the day, they are in. It's a good problem to have, but hey, Evan Neal's the pick here. And I gotta say, I understand it. Trevor Lawrence is the Jaguars' number one priority. I mean, you have to protect him. He was hit constantly last season. He doesn't have any help on the offensive side of the football. Now, Travis Etienne is coming back, which is awesome. But hey, Trevor cannot continue to pick himself up off of the turf every single week. I mean, it's just unacceptable. I mean, you have the number one overall pick. He was a quote-unquote generational quarterback prospect. You can't have another David Carr situation, another Andrew Luck situation. You look at Evan Neal, he has great size, great athletic ability. He could play on the left side of the O-line, the right side, he could play guard, he could play tackle. I look at the Jaguars offensive line, and even though they do have some young prospects like Walker Little, who's a guy that I really like, and Juwan Taylor, who was recently a second-round pick, I think the Jaguars, with Cam Robinson hitting the open market, I think it makes a lot of sense to go out and draft an offensive lineman. So with the second pick, Todd has the Lions going with defensive end from Michigan, Aiden Hutchinson, an absolute slam dunk here. I mean, you look at what the Lions organization needs right now. They need cornerstones on defense. They need young playmakers. They need pass rush. They need somebody to consistently get in the backfield. You look at Trey Flowers, he might be released because of his contract. I think Aiden Hutchinson would be a perfect fit. The whole Michigan story aside, right, him being from there, I think from a schematic fit as well, he's a beautiful fit for what Aaron Glenn wants to do. I think it makes so much sense. I mean, he's the best pass rusher in this draft. And again, I look at Detroit as having some really solid pieces. I cannot wait to see what Detroit does this upcoming draft season. They have pieces in place, but I don't think they have enough pieces. So I think this would be an A+ situation for the Lions. And I really think for the Lions fans out there, the hope is that Evan Neal does in fact get selected by the Jacksonville Jaguars first overall, because if he doesn't, and let's just say Hutchinson is the pick, now all of a sudden the questions start to flood in. Do we reach on a defensive back? Do we take Kayvon Thibodeau? Do we try to trade back? Where I feel like if the Jags just go with Neal, just like how this mock draft is set up currently, now all of a sudden everything becomes more clear and you just take Aiden Hutchinson and you move forward. So A+ for me. So at spot number 3, McShay has the Texans going with safety from Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton. Now, to me, Kyle Hamilton is one of the best prospects, honestly one of my favorite, if not my favorite prospect in this upcoming class. I mean, he just brings so much to a defense, so much to the back half of a defense. I mean, size, speed, agility, ball hawking ability, tackling. He can help out in the running game. Tons of production at Notre Dame. He's been a leader. I mean, he has done so many things for that Irish defense, and I think he projects really well to the NFL level. I think wherever he lands, he's going to ball, no matter the system. But I think this is, when you just look at Kyle Hamilton in this Lovie Smith style of defense, he is a beautiful fit in the back half. The only problem is the fact that, you know, the whole positional value argument. If you don't care about it, then this would be an amazing pick, right? If you're just going, you know, if you're trusting your big board, if you're looking at your team needs, and Reed is in fact going to be, you know, I don't want to say let go, but if he doesn't get brought back by Houston, now all of a sudden you have a hole to fill at safety. Hamilton would come in and fill that vacancy easily and be an upgrade. Okay, so I think it's really just a matter of preference. Do you want to take a safety that high? If you do, awesome. It would be a great selection just on numerous accounts. But if you don't, I could see some fans having a problem with it. But hey, for me personally, I like the fit a lot. Okay, so next up, Todd has the New York Jets going with tackle from NC State, Ikem Ekwonu. I think this would be a really safe pick for the Jets, considering where the Jets need to go offensively, right? We have to get better in the running game, and we have to protect our second-year quarterback in Zach Wilson, much like the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence, okay? So Ikem would come in and do both of those things really well, excelling in run blocking. Okay, you look at what this offense is based around, it's establishing the run, it's working off of play action, okay? So I think this makes a lot of sense, especially considering the amount of question marks on this offensive line. Morgan Moses, LTD, Dan Feeney, all expected to hit the open market. Greg Van Roten will probably be released. You look at Mekhi Becton. You know, he is supposedly has size concerns by the organization, the injury past, the concussion, the plantar fasciitis, the season-ending injury that wasn't expected to be a season ender, right? He wasn't supposed to miss the entire season. How do those injuries affect him moving forward? Will he get hurt again? It's just a foggy situation. We don't know what's happening here. But Ikem is a safe player. He could do a lot of things really, really well. He's a plug-and-play guy. We could just put him immediately at tackle and watch him go to work. I think the only concern here is passing on Kayvon Thibodeaux at edge, because you can make the argument it is going to be really hard to find another edge rusher opposite of Carl Lawson, and that is arguably the other team's biggest need, right? Getting after opposing quarterbacks, getting in the backfield. We just didn't do a good job of that last season. Now, granted, Carl Lawson was hurt, but we need some more talent there. We need somebody, again, opposite of Lawson that can make noise, because my fear is that Lawson's going to come in and offensive lines are just going to gravitate towards him and kind of shut him down, neutralize him, and therefore we don't really have anybody to pick up the slack. So it's an interesting situation, but hey, at the end of the day, if the Jets walk away with Ikem Ekwonu, I would be totally pumped. Next up at spot number 5, Todd has the Giants going with Kayvon Thibodeaux here, defensive end from Oregon. I think this would be a great pick for the Giants. I mean, they need pass rush. They need pass rush. I feel like the team's biggest needs are offensive line and defensive line, right? Brian Daboll's coming in the building. You don't really have that star off the edge. Kayvon provides that upside. I think he's aggressive. I think he does a lot of good things. He's a versatile player, 3-4 guy, 4-3. You can kind of play him at either. I know there has been some size concerns, but we're not asking Kayvon to grow 5 inches. We're not asking him to be a 6'11", 6'11", something like that. No, it's doable, right? It is doable. So I think right now for the Giants, this is a dream situation. I mean, you have Charles Cross here on the board. You have a lot of really, really good talent. Devin Lloyd, there's a lot of really solid prospects here, but Kayvon kind of stands out above the rest, and he's here at spot number 5. I mean, you can argue he is the best player in this draft. Okay, so you gotta love it if you're a Giants fan. Next up at spot number 6, Todd has the Carolina Panthers going with corner from Cincinnati, Ahmad Gardner. Now, I really like Gardner as a prospect. Just how aggressive he is, how he attacks the ball carrier. He's a good tackler. I mean, he's never allowed a touchdown pass in his entire career, which is just flat out awesome. I mean, that's like what you should strive for as a cornerback, playing the game, right? That and, crazy pass deflection numbers and interceptions. But look, Gardner is a really, really good prospect. My issue here isn't with Gardner himself, but I think it's just Carolina being in between a rock and a hard place, because I really feel like they need help on the offensive line, but more importantly, they don't have the quarterback position figured out. Is this team going to roll out Cam Newton again next year? PJ Walker, Sam Darnold? I don't know. I just don't have faith in any of those guys moving forward. As their franchise quarterback for the next 3-4 seasons. I just don't see it. And here with the Carolina Panthers, every quarterback is on the board. So hey, if they like a Willis, if they like a Pickett, whoever it might be, they have their opportunity to do that. Now, I do feel like the Panthers will swing big and land one of these veteran stars, whether it's a Watson, a Russell Wilson, something along those lines. I feel like the Panthers will definitely be active in the quarterback market. But again, I think Charles Cross here would be a really, really good pick for Carolina. But hey, they're walking away with Gardner. And another, I don't want to say gripe, but, and I feel like issue is a little bit of a strong word as well, but another problem that I have with going with Gardner here over Charles Cross is the fact that Carolina already has so many young cornerback talent. I mean, they just acquired CJ Henderson. They have JC Horn on the roster. I really like Jackson. Will another cornerback put this team over the top? And I would have to say no. So for me, I would like to see Charles Cross here, but at the end of the day, Gardner is a really, really good prospect. So next up, we have the New York Giants here at 7. Todd has them going with Charles Cross, funny enough, tackle from Mississippi State. If they could walk away with Thibodeaux and Cross on day 1 of the NFL draft, I mean, man, that is the absolute dream. You're selecting 2 fantastic prospects, and they would be coming in at the 2 highest positions of need. I mean, that's just flat out awesome. That's an A+. that is an A+, okay? Thibodeau just provides so much defensively, and then offensively, you have Charles Cross here. At tackle, Solder set at the open market, it just did not work out. I know there was a lot of hype surrounding that signing. It was a huge payday, but at the end of the day, it just did not work out. I like Andrew Thomas a lot. I do. I just don't know if I'm in love with Andrew Thomas, okay? So I think tackle is necessary. One of these picks have to be addressed to the offensive line. There's been some talk that, I've spoken to a couple Giants fans. They really like Linderbaum and whatnot. But hey, again, Charles Cross here at spot number 7. Huge acquisition. Day one player. He's a beast in pass pro. He's dominated the SEC. I really like Charles a lot. Next up at spot number 8, Todd has the Atlanta Falcons going with wide receiver from USC, Drake London. Now, to me, this reminds me so much of A.J. Brown, right? A guy who could win box outs, he could win 50-50 balls, he could out-jump corners, he could hurt you in the red zone, he could win one-on-one on the outside, just like A.J. Brown. And I think the Atlanta Falcons don't really have a player like that currently. There's obviously been a lot of just weird buzz surrounding Calvin Ridley. Will he be traded? It seems like he will probably be traded. I'm not sure at this point what's going to happen or where Ridley will end up. But I feel like the Falcons need to get more explosive playmakers on offense. And Drake London, even though he's not the fastest guy in the world, even though he might not be the best route runner, he still brings a lot to the table just as far as a physical presence on the outside. I think he's kind of he's one of those style of receivers where it's like, hey, if all else fails, we could just loft it up to London, and there's a really good chance he could come down with it, much like a Mike Evans in Tampa Bay. Okay, so the only thing here is that there's been, of course, I mean, this whole thing, like, we're still in February here, okay? So there's still a lot of movement. We still have the combine to get to, pro days, but when you talk about Drake London, people say, oh yeah, from spot maybe like 10 to 20, 20 to 25, that's where they see London going. McShay has him going in the top 10 here. And that's totally cool. I know there might be an issue with some fans, but hey, I mean, I think if you just look at team needs, I think if you look at how good of a prospect London could be at the NFL level, I think it does make sense. Next up, Broncos at spot number 9. Todd has them going with Devin Lloyd, linebacker from Utah. Devin Lloyd is one of my favorite players in this draft. I mean, the leadership, just his ability to galvanize the locker room, get everybody going in one direction. I mean, he is tremendous. And then on the field, I mean, just elite production at Utah. This past season, he had, I think, 22 tackles for loss, 111 tackles, 7 sacks. The guy's all over the place. He could drop back in coverage. Man, I think Devin Lloyd could seriously be a problem. You look at Nathaniel Hackett coming in the building as an offensive mind. There's obviously some question marks surrounding quarterback, but this is the good news for the Broncos. They have so many positions figured out. They have studs all over the place with Justin Simmons and Chubb and wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, everything. I honestly feel like the Broncos were one of the better jobs better open jobs for a head coach. I think Hackett's walking into a beautiful situation. He only has to tweak a couple things and figure out the quarterback, and he's good to go. Devin Lloyd is going to be a guy that you could count on. I feel like he's a day one player, right? You could play him in, put him on the defense instantly. I think this makes a lot of sense. But Denver's always weird because, again, going back to the quarterback position here, they have Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, but no quarterback has been taken off this mock draft so far. So if they like a Willis, if they like a Pickett, they have their choice to do that. But hey, who knows? Maybe Hackett is brewing some Aaron Rodgers acquisition or something like that behind the scenes. We'll see how it all plays out, but Devin Lloyd to the Broncos, I like it. And last but not least, at spot number 10, Todd McShay has the Jets going with corner from LSU, Derek Stingley. When you look at what Derek Stingley did in the SEC as a freshman player for the Tigers defense back in 2019, it is unreal. It is almost unbelievable. The numbers were 6 picks, 15 passes defended against, such a young player. I mean, people were talking about Derek Stingley as a top 3 pick, like as a freshman, like, oh yeah, he just has to get by these next 2 years of college and he's going to be a top 3 stud NFL corner. But the problem has been the injuries, staying on the field. Right? Yes, he had an elite freshman season, played in a ton of games, but the sophomore and junior season, he hardly played. His sophomore year, he only played in 7 games, and in his junior year, he only played in 3 games, so he hasn't really seen a lot of football over the past couple of seasons, 10 combined games, And there has been some buzz surrounding Stingley's injuries moving forward, right, at the NFL level. Will he get hurt some more? Supposedly some teams are a little weary. They're scared of these injuries. But I think it's spot number 10 with the Jets lacking that true number one shutdown corner on the outside. I like Bryce Hall. I love Michael Carter on the slot. I think this does make sense because we already addressed offensive line earlier with Ikem. Kayvon and Aiden are obviously off the board. Devin Lloyd is off the board. We can really only make Kyle Hamilton's off the board. We can only make an argument here, I think, for wide receiver or corner. Gardner's off the board. Yes, we do have our choice outside of Drake London at wide receiver. Maybe Garrett Wilson, who I think would be a tremendous fit in this Mike LaFleur offense. Chris Olave is a guy who I really like as well. I know nobody's really talking about him going this early, but hey, maybe a possible trade down situation. Who knows? But as far as Todd's mock is concerned, to walk away with Ikem Ekwonu at 4 and then Derek Stingley at 10, I would say as a fan of this Jets team, walking away on draft night, I would be pumped up. I would be satisfied. I think we're addressing not only just needs, but we're getting a lot of potential. In Ikem's case, this guy would just come in and start dominating from day one. I truly believe that. With Derek, I think it's more so, I don't want to say a shot in the dark because that almost sounds like it's a negative. I think it's just more of an unknown. Will he be healthy? But then again, Joe Douglas did select a guy in Mekhi Becton, and he's going into year 3, and we have doubts about his future. So would Joe Douglas select a guy that has had injury problems? I don't know, but just, hey, as a fan of football, for me personally, when I'm looking at this thing subjectively here, I would be pumped up. I would be satisfied and pleased. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. That's Todd McShay's top 10 picks of his second mock draft of the offseason. Can't wait to do some more. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.